Good evening to all of you and a very warm welcome. It's fantastic to have you all with us, and we're going to dive straight into some music from Jerusalem branch. You just heard Muqaddimat Sahariya, which means evening introduction, a musical interlude from the theatre piece Evening by Ziad Rahbani. It is wonderful to have you all here, as I said, at this annual Christmas online concert. Last December, those of you who were with us remember our tribute to the teachers and students of Gaza. We could never have imagined where we would be today, and that we would still, as a world, be calling for the ceasefire, calling for freedom and justice for the Palestinians. Today, we will see how the school and the musicians there have adapted to these unimaginable conditions. We will also hear from three wonderful guests who I will introduce as we go. And we will see the daily work of the conservatory through the music of the students. Now, from the Arabic department of Jerusalem branch to the piano department of Bethlehem. I now introduce the piano student Rosalind Khair, playing Chardas by Vittorio Monti. Thank you to Rosalind, and thank you also a big thank you to the academic supervisors of Bethlehem and Jerusalem branches, Raji, Gharib, and Sivan Barghut, for coordinating all of these recordings today. We're going to stay in Bethlehem now, and before we welcome our first guest, we're going to hear quite a rare treat of qanun and piano together. And in some ways, we stay in Bethlehem because now we're going to welcome Lourdina Baboun. It's great to have you here with us.
Hello, everyone. It's so great to be among a few today, and great to see so many familiar faces.
Fantastic. You were the Palmusic scholar some years ago now. You did your studies in the UK.
Yes.
Could you just briefly outline when and where that was?
Yes, I did my bachelor degrees at Royal Birmingham Conservatory in 2017. Yeah, 2017 until 2020. And yeah, for 3 years.
And the last time we might have seen you in Palmusic, you did a tour of the UK with a string quartet.
Yes, with Tiba and Omar. Yes, true. It was a great tour, actually. Actually, during that period, I did 2 tours with you, with Palmusic. Yeah, it was, yeah.
And so what we would like to hear from you today with this quick sort of alumni catch-up is what have you been doing since? Where have you been and what have you been up to?
Yeah, so since then, I moved to Sweden, where I did my master's degrees at the Royal College of Music in Sweden. And I finished 2 years ago. And since then, I've been working as a freelance violinist with several orchestras in Sweden, like the Swedish Radio Orchestra and other opera houses in Sweden, not just in Stockholm. And as well been like working with a lot of ensembles as chamber music musician. And recently, my friends and I established a string trio, and we're hoping by 2025 to be able to create like a website and social media accounts to be able to, let people know about us.
Fantastic. And that trio, are you performing? What kind of music are you playing?
Yes, we actually perform several concerts together, and We performed a lot of classical music, but we've been talking actually now to try to um, to collaborate with a composer where we can combine our three cultures, because I'm Palestinian and my friend is Spanish and the other from Czech Republic. So we're trying to, to take folk music from each one and, to try to create piece like, to be unique in a way. Yeah, and now we're trying to do that. And yeah, as well, I've been teaching in a private music school. And yeah, that's it. So trying to do everything at the same time, which has been really great and working well so far.
I think that's the typical life of a freelance musician, though.
Yes, definitely. Definitely.
And recently, I had the pleasure of seeing you in Jordan. You came
Yes.
back from
Yes.
a few years of not being with the Palestine Youth Orchestra to lead them again.
Yes.
This was a very emotional project. How
It
did you
was.
experience it?
Actually, when they asked me to be there, I had a really important project to do at that time, like during the summer. But I was like, no, that time I need to be with the PYO. At these circumstances, I need to be with the PYO. I need to share my experience. I was extremely touched and emotional. I think most of us cried a lot during these performances and rehearsals, as well as to work with Lamar, our first Palestinian woman conductor, was extremely emotional. Actually, it was really emotional, and I felt like I needed to be there and to give what I can to these talented musicians.
Yes, and it was the concerts were wonderful, and you did a fantastic job there.
Thank you. I try to give as much as I can and to help everyone as much as I can.
And a lot of the time, you are not playing in your country.
Yeah.
Jordan is the closest it's been for a while. Um, how do you see yourself as a Palestinian musician who's living in another country? What does that hold for you?
To be honest, after seeing these three performances now, I in a way I got very emotional because I was in a way raised at this place, and I recorded a lot of recordings in these halls, and it just was like a throwback to these like memories where I really want to come back and to give back what I have learned. And I'm hoping to be able to do that soon because I really want to. Like they deserve, and yeah, they deserve, and I want, like, as well, the conservatory and everyone gave me a lot through a very difficult period and supported me. And I was able through through the music and the help of the conservatory, Palmusic, to be able to tour, to go and to. So I really want to give back in a way. I don't know when. I'm not coming back. I'm here. But any projects I will definitely be happy to come back as I did with the PYO.
It's it's amazing to hear that, and I'm sure they will want you back whenever you will, and we will want you back as well. Especially with your new projects, we would love to hear how that's going. Do keep in touch.
Yeah.
Do let us know all these fantastic things that you're doing, and we will put your name out there as well.
Thank you so much, and thank you for listening and being here. And yeah, great to be with you again,
Thank you very much, Lourdina. Bye bye.
everyone. Bye.
We're going to stay in Bethlehem, if I've got my pages in the right order. Yes. And we're going to listen to a well-known piece called Mandira Hijaz. Mandira, it's a sort of dance piece. It's in 7, which for the British ear can sound a little bit wonky, but it's great fun. And Hijaz refers to the mode, which to, again, a British ear might sound quite the real Arabic sound with a da 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 da. We get this. So this is Mandira Hijaz, played by string quintet in Bethlehem branch. It's now my greatest pleasure to invite our second guest of the evening, the Reverend Munther, who is joining us live from Bethlehem. And I will leave you to introduce yourself. Thank you.
Well, good evening. And what an honor and privilege to join this gathering, this online Christmas concert. I actually feel it's so hard to follow such amazing acts of music. It's so unfair, actually. So thank you to the musicians. For those who don't know me, my name is Munther. I am a Palestinian pastor and theologian. I'm speaking to you from Bethlehem, where I pastor the Evangelical Lutheran Christmas Church in Bethlehem, and I also pastor the church in Beit Sahur. I wish I was addressing you in different circumstances. I wish there was no genocide in Gaza in which we gather at its shadow, or siege in Bethlehem. Right now, Bethlehem is besieged, and we're heading towards a moment in which Bethlehem could become another Gaza. And the music we listen to brought joy and hope to our heart, because this is what Christmas is supposed to be, a time of joy, of reflection, of hope, of celebration. Yet it feels so hard to think of normality when our siblings in Gaza are going through a genocide. And indeed, the question we're asking ourselves right now is, how can we even think of the meaning of Christmas or celebrate when our siblings in Gaza are going through a genocide? I think to answer this, it's important to reflect on the meaning of Christmas and the message of hope it brings. And to do that, we need to get rid of the romantic images we have of music with decorations and Christmas tree, and actually go back to the original Christmas narrative, a story in the Gospels which told of a refugee family, a family that had to actually travel long distance just because of a decree from an empire. And then when Jesus was born, he survived a massacre of children. And out of all places, found escape in Gaza, the same way thousands of Palestinians sought refuge these days in Gaza. This is a story that actually gives us hope, because we see how this child survived this brutal massacre of children, and then brought a message of hope, love, and peace to the world that we still talk about. And as such, today, we have to continue the faith. We have to believe that in the midst of war, from the midst of ashes and rubbles, we still believe, and we will still dream as a people. We cannot lose the hope. This war has taught us many things. I can point to the hypocrisy of the world, who boast and lectured us Palestinians on human rights, and put conditions on us, and tried to play the righteous kind of role by lecturing us on human rights, and then only for us to discover that it's all a myth, that these rights don't apply when it comes to Palestinians. Yet at the same time, if anything, this war has taught us about Palestinians is how strong and resilient we are. The Palestinian concept of sumud, the resilience of Palestinians, in general, of course, but also that of the people in Gaza. Today, I find hope, not just in our faith in God, but in the resilience of the Palestinian people. I look at our heroes in Gaza, and I've been talking about the first responders, the doctors, the nurses who work non-stop to save lives. They are the true heroes in our world today. But I also think of the many untold stories that we watch on our social media, of people creating schools in the tents, or of people playing music to entertain children and give them a message of hope in these refugee tents. And certainly, we've seen some of the teachers of the Edward Said National Conservatory of Music in Gaza playing such an important role. To me, they are true heroes. The Palestinian sumud includes our insistence to continue and to resist even through music. Believe me, music is part of our resistance today. By insisting to continue to learn and play music and think of our culture and revive our heritage, we are resistance. And again, I think of those who are using their music, their gifts, to help bring hope in Gaza, but even here in the West Bank. I'm privileged that my two boys, Karam and Zaid, they are 12 and 10. They are part of the Edward Said National Conservatory of Music here in Bethlehem. I watch firsthand the dedication of the teachers, who work in the most difficult circumstances, traveling from one area to the other when needed, still going on with teaching our kids via Zoom, given the restrictions of movements. They always insist life must go on. We must continue with this process. And I see the difference music makes on my own children. I see the hope, the joy it brings them. And I don't take this for granted. I'm grateful for the opportunity my kids have to learn music. But today this has become a privilege, even a luxury, when we think of what's happening to children in Gaza, whose only hope right now is to survive this genocidal war. And so we must continue because we owe it to them. We must make sure that music continues to be part of our life in Palestine today. Yes, we want to survive, and we must fight against the erasure of the Palestinian people, including the attempts to erase our heritage, our culture, our music, our history. That's why I repeat, music is part of our resistance as Palestinians. So thank you for all of you who joined. Please, this Christmas, let us remember the children and the musicians of Gaza. And let this be our commitment to continue to work for a ceasefire, for justice for the Palestinians, and for life for our children. Thank you.
Such wonderful words, Abouna. Really, thank you so much. I didn't know what you were going to be talking about, but I'm drinking your words. And I'm getting to know you through your extended family who have all passed through the conservatory. I've gotten to know Mark and Isha and Rania, and such a musical family. So I kind of, although we've never met, I feel close to you. Not just from your words, but through your extended family. The question I have for you is about words like faith, words like hope, which are so fundamental for us being able to live our lives. Is there something that you are able that you rely on specifically to help you preserve and nurture that faith and that hope?
Yes, I think we even have to fight today to keep the faith. Because if we don't have faith in God and in the goodness of God and in the justice of God, and if we don't have faith that justice will ultimately prevail, then all we do is in vain. We will live in despair. And it's so easy to give in to despair, especially today. But once you have hope and faith, and today I love this word sumud, because it works hand in hand with the faith, because our faith keeps us in our sumud, in our resilience. And as I said, if I lose the faith, then we give in to despair. Then all the music we play is for nothing. All the efforts we do, all the advocacy I've been doing, and many, many others around the world, all the demonstrations for a ceasefire, all the books we're writing, all the good things that the heroes of Gaza are doing will go in vain. And so they can take away everything from us. They can destroy our homes. We will rebuild them. They can do everything, but they cannot get inside us and take this faith from us.
Yeah. So the atrocities are happening on many levels. Of course, there's a physical level, the undescribable pain and destruction. But if they win, and our faith and our hope and our capacity to love and reach for a future and to self-determine, if we lose that, then they also win this side of the war. And it's very easy for us to lose that when we watch the news.
If they get into us inside, then we lose. If they turn us into hatred, we lose. If they take away the hope from us, we lose. If we give into despair, we lose. And I think that's why, after more than 76 years of, not just, by the way, the Zionist settler colonialism, but those who support that, all those who are enabling that, after years, more than 76 years of trying to erase the Palestinian people, look at us now. Look at our music. Look at our universities. Look at our doctors. And look at our dedication, our courage. We're not special. We're not above anybody, but I think we're no less human than anybody. And this is what we're trying to communicate throughout this war. And I'm very, very confident, as long as we have this faith, this rootedness in the land, the faith and the justice of our cause, we will recover from this brutal genocide, and we will ultimately prevail.
Well, I think, I'm sure after those words, we will all wake up tomorrow with new heart and a new determination to try and make a better world possible through our own actions and our faith and our hope in others. We must not lose our faith in others in this world, I think. Thank you so much, Abouna, for your words. Jay, would you like to take us to the next? Thank you, Abouna.
Yes, thank you very much for being here with us today, Munther. I think this is the perfect time for us to see then what has been happening in Gaza from the ESNCM this year. A quick update, there have been 3 programs running, one in the north, one in the middle, and one in the south. So you'll see during the video some references to sort of central Gaza, South Gaza. This is what this refers to. The situation in the north has been absolutely horrendous recently. So the footage we're going to see now is mainly from the center and the south. Many of the teachers have left. They are running now a program for students who have left, who are in Cairo. You can find out more about this through the newsletter of the Palmusic and of the ESNCM. And they are also doing really important work for those displaced there. The ESNCM has developed a program of musical and other activities for children, families, communities. Most people do not have instruments now. So there's a focus on singing, on clapping, and just bringing people together. We have lost colleagues this year. Colleagues have lost family, friends, their homes, and they are living in tents in fear. And these programs are a beacon of light. They are a support. They are a distraction from everything that's happening. And they also give hope for the future. Here we will see a little bit of the activities that have been happening.
Three, 4. القدس وعكا نحن إلى يافا في غزة نحن وقلب جنين قلب جنين الواحد منا يزهر آلافا لن تدخل فينا ورقة تين ورقة تين ما هان الحق عليك ولا خاف عودتنا إيمان ويقين لن نسكت لن نستسلم لا 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 نفديك لنحيا يا فلسطين فلسطين بلادي نحملها جرحا أو أملا لا 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 راح نبقى فيها اليوم الدين فلسطين بلادي لن
I'm Ahmed Abu Amsha, the coordinator of the Edward Said Conservatory in South Gaza, and music teacher and guitar teacher. I would like to share with you my appreciation to our friends of UK, Palmusic, of 10 years of giving and not stopping. There is 1.5 million here in Khan Yunis. People lives in the camps. So you help us with spreading love and music, helping kids with music therapy. Thank you a lot, my friends. I love you.
لا صوت باقي ولا صدى ولا مين لف الطريق حب المطارح يا زمن راحوا الهون اتجمعوا رسموا سوا صورة وطن وأول شراب ولعوا
Well, very confusing. Okay, so I'm Wissam Boustany. It's the first time I talk to you as chairman of Palmusic. Nothing much has changed. But I struggle with talking from written papers. But this morning I was walking and I suddenly realized what I wanted to say. I was walking in the park with my dog, and again I was reminded that we choose what we want to see in life. We don't just see, we choose what we want to see. And what I saw today, growing out of stone and walls, wild flowers, against all the odds, growing instead of being in fertile soil, where everything is conducive to hope, conducive to faith. But life springs forth in the most incredibly difficult circumstances. And every time I meet the students of ESNCM, when Jay and I went to the PYO tour earlier this year, it hit me so strongly how strong, how courageous, how loving those kids are. And the work of teaching music is not about teaching an instrument. It's not about playing perfectly. It's not about impressing people and getting good grades. It's about living life through our hearts and having the courage to give all our energy to this unconditional love, without which it is impossible to live a life worth living. And this is what music does to the player, to the listener, to the supporter, to the human being. And we need to have the courage and the imagination not to lose faith in what music and what's more important behind the music, the love behind music, gives to people. That's why we do it. So I just wanted to leave you with those thoughts, which kind of, I think, fit very well with Abouna Munther's words of faith and hope during this time, and would like to encourage you to donate if you can. The link will be shown several times. And I think it's a good time to move on. Jay, I think you're taking over now. Unmute yourself, unmute yourself.
I knew I would do that once this evening. Thank you very much, Wissam. And it's great to have you newly as the chair with us. So we are about to talk to our third guest of the evening, the featured artist, who is Tarek Abboushi. Before I get into conversation with him, we're going to listen to a little bit of his music. Tarek Abboushi. Thank you so much for being with us this evening.
Thank you, Jay. Thanks for having me.
For those of us familiar with the ESNCM, we know your face very well. You were a teacher there for many years and playing regularly in Palestine. For those who are not so familiar, or you are a new face with PAL Music, can you tell us a little bit who you are?
Sure. I'm, I guess, a Palestinian musician. I grew up in Ramallah, and I actually went to the conservatory for a few years. I believe it was sometime during my college years. Before that, I was studying music with my mother, Nadia Abboushi, studying piano, and also with the late Miss Tabri, who was also one of the teachers at the conservatory at the time. And I went on to study jazz piano in college and got interested in the Buzuk more and more during my college years and got more into Arabic music while I was studying jazz piano. And that's basically it. I stayed after college in the New York area and worked there as a freelance musician. And then I came to Palestine to teach there and taught for about 10, 11 years. And I guess I'm still teaching, and here we are now.
Thank you for the brief summary of all of that. I would like to hear a little bit about what we just heard. It's quite an unusual combination, Buzuk player in a jazz trio. Perhaps you've just answered the question by giving your jazz history, but what is this video and what does it say about you as a musician?
This is from my latest project, a trio called Ta. And basically, I think the music that comes out from the things that I write is basically music that I'm interested in, or music that has inspired me in my life, and just it naturally will come out when I play and when I compose. And this composition is called Mindiritna. So similar, it's a play on Mandira that we just heard a little while ago with, I think it was Lourdina or somebody from Bethlehem who was playing it. Yeah. And so this is sort of taking the same style and writing a new one, but also Mindiritna means from our home. Mindiritna. And so it's a play on that, because as I'm digging more into our Palestinian culture and our folk music, I'm discovering that the things that we know about it are actually very little. Even me growing up there and being interested in music, still I knew very little, and I've discovered that there are rhythms that I didn't know existed in this region, like this 7/8 rhythm. It exists even in the folklore. And so I was shocked, and I decided to write a piece in that rhythm and say, Mindiritna. So yeah, and the other musicians are Apostolos Sideris from Greece, a good friend of mine from when I was in New York. We played together a lot, and the other drummer is somebody that I recently met, Dimitris Klonis, and basically it brings together these different elements, the jazz and the Arabic interest that I have, and it just comes out.
And are you the writer? Or is it a collaborative process, or are these your compositions that you're working on with them?
With them, it's actually not all my compositions. This particular one is my composition. For this concert that we did, I was focusing on folk music from Palestine and taking things from that and rewriting things around it and sort of putting it in a new context. So it's heavily taking from Palestinian folklore and sort of twisting it a little bit, adding different elements to it. But I think moving forward, we will probably have also compositions from everybody, because I think music is much more fun when it is shared in such a way rather than dictated.
And I know you as a composer as well. You've written for ensembles in Palestine and also abroad. And how did that start? How did you start also writing as well as playing?
I think it started because I wanted to write music for my group. My first group it was called Shusmo, and that was in New York. And I wanted to write music for that. That sort of brings out these different parts of me. And so, yeah, I just started wrote, I think, three tunes before I was able to bring the musicians together to try them out, and that's how the first group I had was born. So I didn't really have training in composition in the more traditional sense. I obviously I knew improvisation, and I think composition comes from improvisation. It's just sort of improvisation slowed down. So yeah.
And how do you find that process of slowing it down? Did it come easily to you?
Sometimes easily, sometimes not. Depends, but generally it's an interesting process because you have to live with it for a while. You have to stay in this sort of mood and slowly chip away at what you have until it's like almost like you're taking away all the things you don't want until you're finally left with what you do want. A lot of times that happens, and sometimes it's bits and pieces. I get a bit here, a bit there, and then at some point I bring them together and see if they work together. So it's different every time. Yeah, sometimes I'm interested. It has to be something that inspires you. Sometimes it's a rhythm. Sometimes it's a maqam change. Or sometimes, yeah, a sound that can inspire you. And then from there, you build around that.
I think we're going to listen to a project where you have been the composer for a sound installation. And I would love to hear about what this project was.
This was a project that I did with the Anastas brothers, Elias Anastas and Yusuf Anastas from Bethlehem. And they're designers and architects, artists, and they started working with, or not all the time, I guess, but they worked with stone, and this was sort of a big thing for them. And they use it in different ways in their designs and their artwork. And there was a project that they were doing about the Kremezan Valley around Bethlehem, which is being appropriated, stolen by the Israelis. And there was a long battle, legal battle, to try to keep these lands because everybody had their deeds and all their legal documents of ownership of this land for many, many, many generations. And the monastery there in the Kremezan Valley, there's a monastery that also owns land and is still functioning there with a winery. It's a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful area. If anybody has been there, they know. But if you haven't, I don't know if you can still go at this point. But basically, they're closing it off with a wall. They're just taking all the land. So this was a project to try to bring attention to this area being taken. And so I went in and just did field recordings, recording the sounds that are there, and then using those and using the idea of stone and trying to work with that. And we worked with a videographer as well. And I can't remember her name, I apologize, but to create this piece that basically talks about this. So, yeah. I hope you can enjoy it.
And the video we will see, the footage is from Kremezan then?
The footage is mostly from Kremezan, some from where they work with stone, like in the Anastas brothers, where they do their work. So there's cutting of stone, and you can see sort of different things. So you can start it if you want. I can explain a little bit. Across the valley, there's the settlement eating away at the valley as well. You can hear them sometimes in the recordings. just want to add that this piece was commissioned by the Victoria and Albert Museum and then was taken to Dubai. And so this is from Al Sirkal in Dubai, but it was first shown or played in at the Victoria and Albert Museum.
Thank you, Tarek. It was very, very powerful piece, especially to see the images with the sounds. Even watching it here on my small screen. So congratulations. My final question to you this evening, there's so much we could talk about. So you've done so many different things. I hope we can feature you more in the future. You have many strings to your bow or your plectrum. Your different instruments, Buzuk, the piano, your writing, you cross genres, you cross countries. How do you put them all together as Tarek the musician, and how does that change according to when you're in Palestine or when you're abroad?
Well, I try to think of them more as different parts of me. Basically, it's everybody's identity is this mosaic of all the experiences that they've gone through and all the people and all the different things that have affected them in their life and inspired them. And so musically, it's the same. I'm basically trying to be true to myself, to what I have, what I want to say, whatever I want to say is going to be coming from something honest. It has to be something honest, and if it's not, then it doesn't work, really. There's no use. Yeah, music has this ability to connect with people in a way that's much more subtle, much more deep, I think, than other ways. And so it has to be, honest. Otherwise, it doesn't do its job. And so these different genres that get labeled, I think, in the end, it's not so important to label them and differentiate between them. It's whatever is inspiring to you, use it, play with it, and see what comes out. And in the end, people later come and decide this is called this genre, we'll call this music, we'll call it that. At the time, people are just making music. And I think that's important to remember as well, not to get too caught up with these differentiations. So I'm inspired by these different kinds of music, and I will continue to be inspired probably by new kinds of music as well that will also make its way into what I play and what I write. I do notice that if I play my music in the Arab world, they might look at it as jazz or something else. And if I play my music in more for a Western audience, they'll be like, oh, this Middle Eastern music. So yeah, I think it depends which context, which environment you put it in. It changes how people look at it, changes it a little bit, but it's still the same. So yeah.
Tarek, it's fantastic to have you here and hear your thoughts on this. Before we completely leave you, we are going to hear a little bit of you playing something which certainly in the Arab world would be considered a little more traditional. This is a taqsim of you playing the Buzuk. Thank you so much for being here, and we look forward to hearing about what comes next for you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Jay. Thank you all for having me. Thank you all for being here, and free Palestine.
Yeah. This is short, so listen carefully, everyone.
Great stuff. We're going to move straight on from the traditional Buzuk instrument to two other instruments from Arabic music, which are the qanun and the oud. This is a duet played by two students from Jerusalem branch, Hamza and Firal Zubi. I hope I've said those right. They're playing Zay al-Hawa, it means like the wind, by Abdul Halim Hafiz. In the conservatory and in all music education, there becomes a time when we have to learn how to play together. A lot of music instruction is one-to-one, and suddenly we get put in a room with all these other musicians, and we're meant to do it at exactly the same time. And it's quite a process. And we have different ensembles at the Edward Said Conservatory for the students to learn this process. One of these is the Jerusalem's Children's Orchestra, which is a string orchestra. So we don't yet throw in all the percussion, the wind and the brass, which is way too confusing. We just keep it to strings. And they start to learn the process of how to play together, how to make a piece and perform together. So they are a junior orchestra, a string orchestra at the conservatory. And each branch has an orchestra which then get together once a year and play all together across the conservatory. We're now going to hear our only Christmas number of the evening. This is Let It Snow, and it's performed by the Bethlehem branch Jerusalem Children's Orchestra. we have reached the end of the concert. It just remains for me to say a big thank you to all of you who are here today. And if you're watching online after, thank you also. A reminder that you can donate to the links which have been put in the chat. The money is very, very welcome, and I hope you see the use it's being put to, and it's really supporting some great programs. I would also like to say thank you to the three guests today, to Lourdina, to Tarek, to Reverend Munther Ishaq, to Taysir Hasboun for his design for us for the concert, and to the Palmusic team who are behind the scenes. It's a momentous...
Can I just say very quickly also a thank you to Caroline Montague, who has led Palmusic for 4 or 5 years beautifully. And also another big thank you to Hiba Zarifi, who was our previous chair before Caroline, who's now reconnecting with Palmusic as a patron. Her love and her support and just continued passion for music, for Palestine, is a great encouragement to our work. Sorry.
Thank you. Yes, absolutely. Do follow us on social media. Do get our newsletter. Do get the newsletter of the ESNCM, and you find out much more about the programs which are happening, especially the activities in Gaza now. It's a momentous day in the region. We hold in our hearts everyone who is suffering under the unbelievable circumstances which they're living in right now, in Lebanon, in Palestine, and perhaps with a little hope to see what happens now in Syria. It's a big day, and we hold everyone very, very much in our hearts. We wish you a very safe and warm Christmas. And we are, of course, going to send you off with a little music. And today we finish with a revisit to the Sunbirds, who are the group in Gaza which has formed under Ahmed Abu Amshi. This group actually lost one of its students very recently with an attack on a cafe, and it's broken everyone's hearts. And here you can just see what this group and performing, being together, is bringing to the children and also to the teachers. So I leave you with these today. Thank you very much for being here today.
مي وزرع جديد حالتنا ويانا شدي يا دنيا
نخلص الحرب ان شاء الله. قول يا رب.